after my previous more serious video, consider this one a palette cleanser.
She's the worst. She's the worst person in the world.
Hey y'all, it's me Alex. Today I'm doing the Eyeshadow Palette Lover... I should look at this real quick. Yes, it is the Eyeshadow Palette Lover Tag. Okay, the original creator of this tag was Angelica Larimar, who I've not watched her videos before, but I really appreciate her making this tag because I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm an eyeshadow palette lover. I have over 50 eyeshadow palettes, and that's with me trying to curate my collection. So, as you can tell, I'm probably someone who owns and loves a lot of eyeshadow palettes. So there are 10 questions in this tag, and I think that, you know, you should probably just get into it because I think that's enough of an introduction. The first one is a palette I regret I didn't buy. Now, I am genuinely really happy with the palettes I have in my collection. I really don't see a lot of palettes that I look back on and were limited edition. I'm like, oh shit, I really should have gotten that, and that I have a deep sense of regret over. I do think I genuinely have everything I need with what I have. Now that's not necessarily going to stop me from buying more eyeshadow palettes, but it means that I don't have a whole lot of specific regrets around eyeshadow palettes. I think a lot of people for this question might answer the KVD Mi Vida Loca remix palette, which I would have said a couple years ago, but after all of the KVD drama with her just revealing that she is not a very good person, that just cleansed my brain of any desire for that palette anyway. But one that comes pretty darn close for me is the Urban Decay After Dark palette. Now that was done kind of in the same style as the Electric palette, which is a personal nostalgic favorite of mine. And that one was filled with a lot of very beautiful smoky shimmers, and I didn't buy it because it was a majority shimmer palette, but just about everything about it appealed to me. And in 2020, I look at my makeup style and I look back on that and I think, whoa, that actually really could have been a good addition to my palette collection in terms of things that I would actually still really use today. I love Urban Decay's shimmer formula, and that has a lot of very pretty duochromes and things of that nature. And the palette, the packaging is just beautiful. I had heard nothing but good things about it from other people. I just didn't buy it because I thought that it was going to be permanent. I thought, you know, I'll get it down the line, and then I never did. I don't regret it so deeply that I would go off and buy it secondhand or anything like that, but I definitely look at it and think, oh, even if I wouldn't have used it right when it came out, it's something that I would really use now with the way I do my makeup, so I kind of regret that I didn't buy it in that sense. But I don't regret it so heavily that I'm like, I'm gonna go to GlamBot or something like that. A palette I regret buying. You might find this pretty interesting. This is the Urban Decay Electric palette. Now I don't regret buying this initially. What I do regret buying is I have two of these. I have two of these. When I heard that this was being discontinued, I was like, oh shit. They don't have Chaos as a single. I love working with these shadows. They're so good, especially if you want to do any sort of avant-garde special effects makeup. I use this a lot when I did my stage makeup class, and when I heard that it was being discontinued, I was like, oh shit, I can't live without some of these shades. And that was kind of before I really knew about indie makeup. So I bought it. It was for half price, and I still have another one. I have my backup upstairs. I'm not going to use that until I finish this one up. I don't know if I ever anticipate actually finishing this one up. I don't know why I thought that, you know, this would be something where I would finish an entire shade that I would pan this that easily, because even though I definitely use these sorts of shades a lot, I definitely did not ever use it enough to think that I could pan it. So I don't regret the Electric palette, but I definitely regret buying a backup of it. A palette I haven't used as much as I thought. That would be the Menagerie Cosmetics Feral palette. Now, I don't think that there's anything wrong with this palette. I quite like basically most of the shades. I'm not a huge fan of the neutrals up there. I really like this palette. I feel like I need to say the caveat of this is really good quality, and if you're on the fence about buying it, I'm not buying from Menagerie right now, but if speaking strictly from quality, it's not a bad palette at all. I think it's just that right around this time my makeup style shifted from doing extremely vivid makeup to kind of, not necessarily a more muted direction, but kind of taking into more earth and jewel tones rather than the bright, vivid neon colors that this palette comes with. These shadows work great. They're very pigmented, they're very blendable, and I definitely dip into this palette quite often, but instead of using it all for one look, I'll usually go for like one shade instead of doing like my whole face with this. I use this often, but not nearly as often as I thought I would when I got it. Like I said, it's really good quality, and I do genuinely like it. I'm never gonna get rid of it because, especially like that middle row there, I love it so much. I think that they make beautiful shades. It's just not a color story that I'm quite as drawn to as a lot of my other palettes, even though when I looked at this at first glance, I was like, fuck yeah, this looks amazing, I should absolutely get it, you know? Okay, a palette that I used more than I thought. Now this is a recent purchase, but that is the Drench Cosmetics Cosmic Oasis palette. And it's because if you look at it, you know, like it looks like a very good sort of color story. I like it a lot. I think that it's very good quality, but it definitely leans a lot more on the neutral side than what I normally do for my makeup. I know, you know, I'm dressed a little bit more neutrally today. It's because I have work this afternoon, all of that. Looking at this, it's not necessarily a color story that I was initially drawn to. I was very excited to try Drench Cosmetics as a brand, and I've heard a lot of my friends really like this. So I bought it, and I've been using this just about every day when I haven't been actively trying to film with something else. And I think that this is absolutely beautiful. And what even surprised me more than just how much I've been using this is how much I've been using the neutral shades in this. I think that this makes a very nice, like, glam, work-friendly palette where you can pop in a color if, you know, you want to do something a little bit more exciting for that day. And I think that this is just very, very beautiful, very good quality, and I hope that they come out with more palettes in different color stories because that would be really fun with us. Yeah, this was a very pleasant surprise in my book. Your favorite half colorful, half neutral palette. I was kind of caught between doing this and the Cosmic Oasis palette. These two could almost definitely be swapped, but this is the Anastasia and Jackie Aina palette, and I consider this a half colorful, half neutral. I don't know if everyone does, but this was my palette of the year last year. It definitely was also a surprise in the same way that the Cosmic Oasis palette was. Like, I didn't anticipate ever not liking it, but I have used this so much more than I could have ever envisioned myself. It is, I don't know what y'all can see from the camera, but it's very, very messed up. I've used so much of this. I not only use this on myself when I go home to visit my mom, I use this on her as well because she really likes this color story. I think that this is just absolutely stunning, and I love that the colors work so well with the neutrals, if that makes sense. Because I think a lot of times I get lost on half colorful, half neutral palettes where I feel like I can only use the neutrals with each other and only use the colors with each other. Because to me, like, blues and browns don't pair well together. You know what I mean? But these sorts of pinks and purples and reds that are in here pair so nicely with the neutrals in this palette that it just makes it so easy, and I feel like you could pair just about any matte with any shimmer in this palette and it's gonna look good. It works so well. All of the colors blend so nicely together. You don't have to worry about things looking weird if you pair the colors and the neutrals together, or if you do a straight up colorful look or a straight up neutral look. Everything you're gonna do with this palette is gonna look good. So, quite like it. A palette you bought just for the packaging. Now, I don't buy things specifically for the packaging. That is generally not how things go for me. Especially in recent years, I've tried to be a very conscious consumer and not just buy things because I think the packaging is pretty. But I'll say for this one, the packaging is the icing on the cake of this being an amazing palette. So this is my favorite palette packaging, and that is the Melt Muerte palette. I got this beginning of this year, and this is still probably one of my favorite palette purchases ever. It is right up there with the Jackie Aina palette. I think that this is absolutely fabulous. I love this color story, obviously. This is just consistently inspirational to me. I would never get tired of that, but just to look at this packaging, it has this half skull, this half sugar skull on it with the roses, and the roses continue on to the back, and I love that the packaging matches the inside as well, because one of my biggest pet peeves is the packaging and the inside of a palette not matching each other. There's this very, very beautiful mirror there that says Amor Eterno. I just blinded y'all, I'm so sorry. But in terms of packaging, this is probably my favorite in all of my collection, and I didn't just buy this because of how it looked, because if I bought it just for the packaging, I would have bought the Vita palette as well, because I would have wanted to match this. But like I said, I'm trying not to do that, and this is expensive. So this was absolutely beautiful. I love how, I'm just obsessed with how this looks. This is just the most perfect packaging color scheme, and I like that it's a little bit raised and textured as well without being obnoxious about it. Perfect. A palette where you like the shimmers more than the mattes. That has to be the Ace Beauté Oceanic palette. I don't think the mattes in this palette are bad by any means, but I am saying that they are a little bit more difficult to work with than a lot of the other mattes that I have tried in my collection. The shimmers in this are absolutely stunning. I think that they work really nicely. They can go on just like with a finger. You can use glitter glue if you're going to do something real precise like a cut crease or something like that, but you really don't need to with this. They perform beautifully on their own. They really don't require that much effort at all. The mattes require a lot of effort, which is why I like the shimmers more than I like the mattes. This is just such a good quality shimmery palette. Like, you won't have any trouble with the mattes if you're okay with blending a lot, but the shimmers are just so nice, so easy, so doggy barking. And a palette where you like the mattes more than the shimmers, and that is the Menagerie Cosmetics Dragon Child palette. Now this one is very well loved. I don't know what y'all can see. I like this palette a lot. This is a great color story. And I don't not like the shimmers in this, but in terms of like the colors, I use the gold shimmer. It's fine. It's great. I actually really like Lucky up here. I think that's a very interesting inner corner highlight type shade. I prefer the colors of the mattes in this palette. Even if the shimmers perform well, I would have preferred some different colors for the shimmers, or for this to just be all matte with the exception of Lucky, because I really just I don't use a lot of yellowy gold shades at all, but the mattes are very much in my wheelhouse in terms of eyeshadow colors that I use. I think Menagerie makes some of the best matte eyeshadows on the market. I love how pigmented and creamy they are. If the shimmers in this palette were just like a different color, I might think differently. It's more that I just reach for the mattes in this one a lot more. A palette that happily surprised you, this one is a recent purchase, and that is the NYX Ultimate Utopia palette. I did not anticipate liking this one as much as I did. I got this one because it was cheap, and I don't have a lot of these sorts of colors in my collection, so I kind of wanted to branch out, but I didn't anticipate how much I would like it. I didn't know that I would like how I looked in peach eyeshadows in like minty, mossy shades, and I still have a little bit of trouble like seeing myself in that, just because it's not what I'm used to. But the shadow quality in this is so good. I've always liked NYX eyeshadow, so it's not necessarily even the quality that surprised me as much. It's simply just how much I've been using it, and the wide variety of looks you can get out of it, and just how pretty they turn out. Like, I knew the shadows would perform well, and I can make just about anything work in terms of eyeshadow in my opinion, but they perform so nicely. They're very easy to work with. It is very easy to just get a nice shimmery, pretty sort of look out of this, and you can do something a little bit more dramatic. And this just happily surprised me so much. It is so nice. It's so pretty. I like it so much. And finally, a palette with the most interesting color story. Now, this was hard to pick, so I just kind of picked what is most unique to me out of all of these. And that is the original e.l.f. and J. Kissa collaboration palette. Now, I know a lot of people didn't actually like this color story because they don't see what you can do with it. And I understand this is truly not a color story for everyone, but as someone who really loves like mustards and greens and purples, hello, this is made for me. I think that this is such a unique color story. I really, even in terms of palettes that do have like purples and earth tones and things like that, I really haven't seen anything like this. It's such a unique palette, even today, even, you know, over a year later from the original launch. This was so well done, and this actually made me trust e.l.f.'s shadow quality again. I think that this was kind of the turnaround for e.l.f. in terms of their eyeshadow formula, even going beyond like the very interesting color story, which I absolutely think that this is. The shadow quality in this is fantastic. It manages to be really interesting while, you know, most of the colors that I've been able to pair together and the looks that I do always turn out very nicely from this. Like, you can tell when I'm using this, you know what I mean? Of like, you know, there's a lot of looks that you can do where you're just like, oh, that could be any of like 5 eyeshadow palettes, but when I use this to do a look, you can always tell like, oh, that's the original Elf and J Kiss It palette. And that to me is also a mark of a good, unique palette. All right, I'm tired of talking. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to do this tag, feel free. You are tagged. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe down below if you want to see more videos from me. And I will see y'all in my next one. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.